The average American is choosing left or right, red or blue, Israel or Palestine, Ukraine, Russia. They're choosing. I'm right smack in the middle going, fuck every. I'm so anti-government that I refuse to take corporate money. And my thing is I've put out to my listeners, which I call them the tinfoil militia. Average white American here, average white American coming out.
Before we start our serious conversation.
Yes, on topic conversation, yes.
On topic conversation, I feel like it is very important to build a base understanding so that we, meaning like me as a host, you as a guest, and the audience can actually understand where we are coming from.
Oh, yeah.
And what credibility are we bringing on the table in terms of our narrative, you know?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So now, before I misrepresent you in any way, so I will just briefly share what motivated me to invite you for this discussion.
Okay.
So, and then perhaps you can agree or disagree or correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, totally. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. So I invited you with the view that you are an average American who has a keen interest in political situation in US and things affecting US. Other than that, you are a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
With regards
I call myself therapist.
Yeah. With regards to political narratives of US and maybe a tad bit of historical context as well.
Yeah,
but by no means I expect you to have an educational background in US politics or political history, nor do you claim to be a political expert. Right?
Correct. Yeah, I'm definitely not an expert, but I do keep in touch with things and I keep an eye out on things, and I definitely, for sure. And historical context is very, very important.
Yeah. So, to label you, you're perhaps a podcaster with an opinion or a political curiosity.
Yeah, right? You could. That is a very nice way of saying that.
Okay, so first of all, how do you see the coming elections? If you can share briefly, because we are going to touch this topic in depth moving forward. But just to start off, how do you see them coming forward?
Oh, that's okay. This is going to be an interesting take on this. I think one of two things is going to happen from what I'm seeing. Look, I can only give a perspective of what I see. My reality is my reality, and opinions vary, as do realities. So take it for what you will. But from what I'm seeing, there's a number of things that could happen. I feel like in the coming elections, there's a chance with the whole Iran, Israel, Palestine thing situation the way it is. There seems to be a plan in place that to go to war with Iran at some point, if we're not already in it, the U.S. And I feel that they could wait to announce that we're in wartime right before the election, because in the U.S., they can suspend an election in wartime. So what better way to piss everybody off but give nobody a choice than to announce wartime and suspend an election? So I think that could happen. I think I'm very anti-government. So I honestly do not feel that in the U.S. right now, with the fact that the Electoral College is the one that actually chooses the president, that I don't feel that the people have a choice. Therefore, I don't feel that we're going to vote our way out of anything or into anything. I feel like 30% of people in the U.S. vote and then 70% don't. What's the harder fight, to convince 30% of the people that their vote actually matters, or I'm sorry, 70% of the people that their vote actually matters, or 30% of the people that that their vote doesn't matter? I mean, you can see it. Yeah, you can see it. And what are our choices? Two geriatric dudes. I don't care what what their history is and everything. People argue whether Trump was good or not. He did good things. He did bad things. Like every president. It was a crazy time anyways. There, like every election, like every presidential 4 years, there's fuckery. And there was a lot of that. And we have a lot more propagandas ramping up. So I'll be honest with you, when it comes to the election, I'm thinking it's either going to be Michelle Obama that ends up taking over for Biden before the election takes place. The election is suspended due to wartime, or they somehow either knock off Biden or Biden knocks himself off, falling down some more stairs, and they end up putting in Kamala. I mean, dude,
Another
it's
huge
up in the
mistake.
air. It's up in the air. It's up in the air what could happen. So honestly, I mean, there's all these things that could potentially take place. And if you were to ask me, well, put a bet on one. I'd say the easiest thing for them to do, because we're right on the cusp anyways, is go to war with Iran, suspend the election, give yourself another year or two to do whatever the fuck you want. And the people have no choice in the matter. They have no choice in the matter. So, that's my opinion on the election. I mean, did you want more of an opinion on the people that are in the election, or what?
No, generally, I think that's good enough for now.
Okay, yeah,
for
yeah,
now,
yeah.
because the thing is,
And there's a lot of nuance in there, by the way, that I'm
Yes.
not touching on, but that
Yeah.
would take forever. So I
Yeah, but like how you mentioned, like there are a lot of things that can happen, and
Yeah.
this is one of the points that I want to raise. Like looking now, like I'm not gonna ask you whose side you are on when it comes to like the
I'm on my
the
side.
Ukraine. No,
I'm
I
on
mean,
my
like
side, and
the
my
Ukraine and
neighbors.
Israel war.
I'm sorry.
Because you see, like at the moment, US is one of the countries which is dictating the world, and there is
Yeah.
no question about it, right? They are the ones who are pushing a lot of buttons in a lot of countries,
Yeah.
and there is no question about it. And if you see, even when it came to ICJ, there's so many hearings held. The only countries who are actually vetoing every single time is US and UK.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they are one of the leading countries, and the thing is, these elections will be very important in geopolitical situation. So this is one of the reasons why. I mean, the question from me to you is, how, as a normal U.S. citizen, you are grasping these decisions which current government is taking when it comes to the aid to Ukraine and then now to Israel, considering how
Oh.
much it is affecting the U.S. economy, and especially the global perception of US's involvement, and also like in your circle. I mean, of course, you talk to different people, and the circle that you have are all conspiracy theorists, or they appreciate conspiracy theories. So
Yeah.
how are they actually looking at this situation, and how it is actually affecting a normal US citizen?
Well, the big thing is, I mean, a common trope is we still have potholes.
Yeah.
We still have potholes in our streets that don't get fixed, which taxes are supposed to go to. So the big thing is, I mean, look, I'm an average American in the way that I am average and I live in America. But I don't know if I necessarily think the way an average American thinks, because the average American is choosing sides. The average American is choosing left or right, red
Yeah.
or blue, Israel or Palestine, Ukraine, Russia. They're choosing. I'm right smack in the middle going, fuck everybody. My thing is like, I mean, however you feel about what's going on abroad, I don't feel we should have any stake in the game in another country. And the only reason we do is because the CIA set up a government over there and allowed shenanigans to take place between America and Ukraine, as in money laundering and a lot of corruption, politically speaking, that the U.S. was directly involved with in Ukraine. Directly involved with. That's why we want Ukraine. The reason why we wanted Iraq and Afghanistan was oil, So what do? We manipulate the narrative that they hate us, so that way the average American says, well, let's go kick their ass, And that's the problem, is the average American listens to the propaganda. I literally default on propaganda. Everything that comes to me through a link, a video, whatever, I immediately go, that's probably propaganda, but let's find out. And that's I default on that. And I think the average American doesn't do that. The average American doesn't default on propaganda. They want to believe in something. So they take whatever, like Fox News or CNN, and they take what they say and it fits the narrative that they want to believe, and so they go with it. I think the government's bad and we need to do away with it. Period. What's the last good thing the government's done for us? Nothing, man.
Yeah.
Nothing. So when it comes to these wars and whatnot, I think certainly the money is not going to where they say it's going to in Ukraine. It's not going to the people, which if we were sending money for good reasons to Ukraine and the Ukraine war was for a good reason, then it should go to the people, and it doesn't. So that's got to stop. And then on top of that, you want to take America into account. It's not even, our tax money is not even going to Ukraine. So the people aren't even helping out.
They have never said that the money is going to go to the people.
No, they never have. No. No.
They have literally said that we are supplying them with armaments and all.
Supporting their government, they're protecting their border. What in the fuck? Yeah, it's so stupid. It's so stupid. And look, war is hell. It's a very popular quote that I didn't make up, just so we're clear. But it is, and I feel bad for the Ukrainian people. I feel bad for the Russian people. I feel bad for the Israeli people. I feel bad for the Palestinian people. I feel bad for Iran. I feel bad for Syria and Tibet and everywhere that the U.S. is stirring shit up. I feel bad for everybody, and I feel bad for the average American because we're seeing $120 billion sent to Ukraine. You know what that would do for us here if that was put into local communities? Can you imagine what $120 billion would do for Detroit? Can you imagine? I mean, we're talking about a city that has been in a slump since the 70s, the 80s. It's unreal to me. And then it goes down from there. Then, from there, that's the overlook of the nation. And then from there, you have individual communities that are affected differently. And, I think, unlike a lot of people, I don't think race plays a lot of it. We're being fucked with. I don't care what color you are. We're being fucked with. Period. And they're pitting us against each other. It's a very common police department tactic to do with gang entities, is to pit them against each other, have them wipe each other out. Very common thing to do. Why wouldn't your government do that to you too? Why wouldn't they? They're trying to weed us out. I mean, shit, they're trying to poison our own food, So, I mean, anyways, it goes on and on. But as far as financially goes, it's, the money has to stop going to other countries. We have to keep it in our own country. And that doesn't mean I'm anti-foreign people. That doesn't mean I'm anti anything. It's just look out for your own.
Yeah, first.
Fix your own house first, right? Isn't that the whole thing? Is like before you go telling the neighbors what's wrong with their house, like fix your own shithole, dude. So I mean that's the whole thing. Is you really have to look out for your own people, and we are not being looked out for at all. I mean, I would say you're a foreigner, right? I say that as in you're foreign to the U.S., but you're not a foreigner where you are. But all I'm saying is, average white American here, average white American coming out. Anyways, all I'm saying is that as someone not in the U.S., even you can see, I would imagine, that the U.S. is got problems. It's got problems, and you don't even live in the U.S. So, I mean, everybody sees it. I'm sorry I called you a foreigner. It's so dumb.
No. But anyhow, I mean, to be honest, I agree with you. But then there's a question. Can U.S. actually let go of global security? Because the position they are in, it is impossible for them to let go of global security. Yeah, because they've put them in a place where they are dictating that how the global security should be run, and they are the ones who are going to handle it.
Oh yeah, so, CIA is everywhere. Is everywhere. We have military bases everywhere. So at this point, we've picked so many fights and stirred so many pots that even if we were to pull out of every country and say, all right, we're done, and then we were to shrink government and not allow for a big, robust global defense, I think people would fuck with us now.
Yeah.
Now, but whereas before, take prior to World War II, if we, I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't have gone over and fought the Nazis, but I'm saying that after that, fucking stop. So if we had stopped and not stirred the pot from that point on, I think we'd all be global security wise, we'd all be a lot better off because you
But then
wouldn't
there are
have the
conditions, right?
yeah.
There are conditions. Like, for example, take Afghanistan for the sake of argument. The way U.S. left, it
Yeah.
left like shit, you know. Like, look at the economy. I mean, I feel like Afghani people would would curse them that, you know, like, first you came, you did whatever shit you wanted to do, and then you just left
Yeah.
left us in rubbles.
Yes. I mean, it's
I mean,
terrible. It's
yeah,
it's terrible. Everybody says, "Oh, Trump had a plan and all this
yeah.
stuff." I mean, you can say
What
that,
kind
but
of a plan?
we'll never know. We'll never
Yeah,
know. We should have never been there in the first place.
yeah.
That's what it comes down to. But that has a long history going back to the late 80s, early 90s
Soviet
of
times, I think.
us
Yeah,
in Iraq and Afghanistan fucking with governments. It goes that far back. I mean,
yeah,
if you look again, I'm not pro or against anybody. I'm against violence in general. I'm against war. I'm pro people. But if you look at the reasons that Osama bin Laden gave for poking at the US was, hey, they poked first. And that's really what it came down to. And you can argue who was right, who was wrong. Again, I'm anti-war. I'm
yeah.
anti-violence.
But that's a
Unless you got to
conspiracy itself.
Yes, well, yeah, exactly. That's a conspiracy in itself. I mean, there's so much. There's
Yeah,
so much. Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Anyhow,
unfortunately, it's a very deep-rooted problem
yeah,
that has a lot of complicated history. So to do a brief overview is difficult.
yeah, definitely. Now, next question.
Yeah.
I actually, what you said about a normal U.S. citizen looking at the media, let's say like they're following Fox and whatnot, so their narrative is built on that. I believe that lately this is changing, especially with the social medias and podcasters coming in and YouTubers coming in. The narratives that they are building. Let's take for example Jackson Nickel. He's a very prominent U.S. Political upriser. Are you
Okay.
familiar with him?
Nope.
Okay.
But I don't watch a
Okay.
lot of mainstream
Okay.
stuff, so. Yeah.
You're not familiar with the dive?
Oh, I've heard of the
His-
dive. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So his that's that guy is Jackson Nickel.
Jackson
So
Nickel. Okay.
yeah, so he became really popular because of his pro Russian narrative.
Ah, I see.
Okay, and another another thing that disappointed a lot of people is because his girlfriend is Russian, and
Oh.
I think since end of last year or so, he has moved to Russia, and now he's still in Russia. And he was one of the first YouTube personality / political activist or whatnot. I mean, you can give whatever label you want to give him, but he was one of the first political YouTuber since Russia-Ukraine war who actually went, and now he is living in Russia.
Wow.
Yeah. So people have been watching him a lot. He has a very good following. And now if you see Tucker Carlson, he has a big following. And
Oh, yeah.
but then the difference, I mean, for me, both of them are very different. If you've been, I mean, like you've said, you've watched The Dive as well, and you've been following Tucker Carlson, I'm sure. How do you see that playing along? And how do you see those things in a similar way, or you see them very different? And how do you see their
You
narrative?
cut out a little bit right when you started talking about Tucker Carlson. So can you repeat that last part a little bit? I'm sorry.
Okay. So if you see how Tucker Carlson and how Jackson Nickel, when they, I mean, both of them, they went to Russia, and
Yeah.
they both started to promote Russian narrative. And even before going to Russia, they started to promote the narrative. And they felt the need to go to Russia to give a different opinion
Sure.
to the society, right? do you see the similarities between them? How do you see that? How do you evaluate this whole situation? I mean, these are the two names that I've mentioned because they
Yeah.
are much more prominent and they have actually gone to Russia, and both of them have had their own experiences.
Yeah. I would say, I mean, first, if you look at, I don't know much about this Jackson Nichols guy, but I know a bit about Tucker Carlson. And what I will say is he has deep roots in the CIA. He has come out and said multiple times that he wants to be a CIA agent, that's what he wanted to be when he was young. So, what better way than to embed yourself as a media figure that is, as we know, bought and sold by the government? So, by proxy, he is a CIA agent by being a media figure, and he's a dare I say right wing media figure. Yeah, the pro Russia thing is very interesting because what I would say is I think it's about time somebody did talk to Putin. Anybody,
Anybody?
it'd be
Yeah.
nice if it was our government that was trying to smooth things out. It'd be great, but instead it's Tucker Carlson. And even what's interesting is based on some of the media things that I've seen, Putin came out and said I was a little disappointed by the softball questions,
Yeah.
and that's worrying because there are some very hard questions that should be asked in wartime from one side or the other. I don't trust Tucker at all. I mean, look, Fox News is owned by Democrats, which is basically like saying all the media is Democrat.
But I don't
And
think
you
that he was representing Fox at that time.
no,
Yeah.
but he comes from that.
Yeah.
So is he still embedded with them? Is he still kind of, that's what's hard is like, it's like celebrity marriages. Is it real? Is it a real marriage? Did Tucker getting fired by Fox, is that a real thing? Was it a publicity stunt? So I would say this. I would say
Be a reason.
maybe a reason. Part of me says I don't trust Tucker. I mean, even on the UFO stuff, he was coming out talking all kinds of shit about UFO stuff and, saying he had seen things and he's read this and he's like everybody else. Oh, sources say, and so I think he goes where the audience is. His side of the audience is not necessarily pro Russia, but they are anti Ukraine war. And the big argument is somebody's got to talk to Putin. Somebody's got to take on what's Putin really saying about this. The media says those closest to Putin, which what does that even mean? You have friends next to Putin. Come on, CNN doesn't have friends next to Putin. So it's hard to know. I mean, I just don't trust anybody, dude. I would say this. I would say if you think Putin is just going to allow someone to come over, because I don't know anything about Putin, but I can't imagine that if you are a very close guarded leader of a country like Russia, I mean, they use body doubles and all this kind of stuff, sneaky stuff to ensure security. If you think that he's just allowing somebody to come over and ask questions that he's not already prepared to answer, like all that wasn't prepped and everything like that, it wasn't a spontaneous interview. So all I'm saying is, can we trust anything that came out of that? Can we trust Tucker? Can we trust this Jackson Nichols guy? I say no. And if they're over there in Russia, there's probably a reason. Like you had said, there's probably a reason why they're over there because again, the media, what better way than to get somebody that says, "Oh, I want to go to Russia. I want to be in Russia. I like it better," or for whatever reason, and so I don't know. I
For
don't
me, I
trust.
personally
Yeah.
feel that Jackson Nicholson is like a very separate thing. The reason why I say that is because like you can sense it from all of his episodes, all of his contents that he is a pro Russian person.
Yeah.
Like he adores Russia.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Tucker Carlson, I feel like this is a drama series which is going on. Like something which you don't expect from Tucker Carlson, and then it's just like they are creating like a
Yeah.
drama series just to promote some event or something.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
imagine right after the interview, he's going to the grocery stores and comparing the prices of whatnot.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
really, that's what you
Yeah.
want to do. And every single place he has been to, people have questioned his credibility of taking interview with Putin.
Yeah.
I mean, even Putin himself, like how you said, Putin himself said that like it was very saucy questions, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Weak sauce. Yep.
Yeah, and like this is one thing that I really admired about Putin. No matter how much you say anything about anybody, I don't care whether he is like a warmonger or whatever he is, but this is the difference between a politician and a leader. He was prepared.
Yeah.
He literally answered every single thing. He was dictating the interview.
Oh,
I
yeah.
felt like he is actually taking the charge, and Tucker is just like, "Sir, this is your first question,"
Yeah.
and then he's done. Like
Yeah.
he didn't had any rebuttals. He didn't had anything. He wasn't grinding anything. I
Yeah.
felt like even a normal person, like if you are having a casual conversation with somebody, can ask better questions than what he was asking. I felt
Yeah.
like Tucker Carlson had like questions on his paper, and he was just reading that, like, sir, this is your first question. Sir, this is your second question. Something like this. It didn't
Yeah.
felt like an interview.
Well, I think if you can imagine, again, I mean, we don't know how, compromised Tucker is. We don't know.
Yeah.
He makes it out as though he's this free-spirited journalist that's just out to get the truth. But everybody can say that. Anybody can say that. So I think if you're in his position, Tucker, and you're going to go and you're going to interview Putin, which is going to be incredibly divisive, right?
Yeah.
I would imagine Tucker has a team of people that he put those questions through. And that team, whether it was lawyers, focus group, who knows? But it could have been all of them that came up with it, decided these were the safest questions to do because it gave him this. It appeased his base by saying, hey, he actually went and interviewed Putin. But he didn't have to put himself on the line by asking really hard questions. And I think so it was the safest route for him to retain a career and gain more ground in the already base that he's in. So it was the safe bet. It didn't put himself out there. I mean, it would have been a lot more epic if he had. But as Putin said, these were softball questions, and it would have been really interesting to see. And I don't know who could have. I don't know who could have interviewed him that would have asked better questions, especially anybody from the media. But I don't. Yeah, again, I think he did what was best for his career, Tucker. And I mean, what more can you expect from a media figure than to look out for themselves? Yeah.
Okay, I can accept that about the questions,
Uh-huh.
but the delivery of the questions would have mattered a lot.
Sure.
I felt like the way he was sitting over there, he was holding back so much. His presence, his body composition, every single thing was, like as if like somebody has put a gun on his face, and like it's deliberate.
Yeah.
That he has to ask these questions, and if he doesn't ask these questions, then
who knows? Who knows if he didn't have two people with AK-47s pointed at him while he's asking those questions? I mean, look. Again, we can speculate all day as to why his demeanor was the way it was, why he asked the questions that he asked. The hard part is that it's all just speculation because nobody's gonna. I don't think Tucker's ever gonna come out with an expose of going, here's why I asked dumbass questions to Putin when I had the one opportunity, and then also go into like why his demeanor was weak and all that. I would say I think most people would be intimidated by Putin. So
Okay, what about
yeah,
after? What about after? You see, after the interview, when he went to Dubai, then he had a chance. He could have
sure.
actually said something, you know. He could have said that, you know, like, okay, maybe it was a lot of pressure or
Yeah.
something, you know. But
Well, and
he's,
Tucker is a
yeah,
good, I mean, look, they're all good actors. You know, all these media figures. I mean, was that not all? Could it have been a ploy? Could it have been a play? Could it have been? Could it have been him and Putin got together and said, here's how we're going to do it. You're going to be the weak journalist, and I'm going to be the strong-willed dictator that runs this interview." And Tucker goes, "Okay." You know, I mean, who knows, man? Who knows? I don't think we're ever going to know, like, you know, why it went that way. But I think we didn't gain any. We didn't really learn anything.
nothing, yeah.
You know, nobody really learned why. You know why? I mean, everybody already knows why Russia is doing. I mean, people have their own opinions why, but if you look at history, you know why Russia invaded Ukraine. So it's not like a mystery. You know, I think the big questions that did the things that did come up that I think were valid are quit funding Ukraine and we'll have less problems. You know, I mean that's valid. That's valid. Quit supporting Ukraine, which puts us against Russia. You know, why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? You know, it's so.
But that's not a question for Putin. That's a question,
No.
question for Biden.
Indeed, indeed. So yeah, so we didn't learn anything. Again, it was a good move by Tucker because it reinforced his base that he sticks to his word, he does what he says, and oh, look how brave he is. He went over and interviewed Putin. And then it benefits Putin because it looks like Putin is coming to the table and wants to talk openly about his feelings, and he didn't have to give anything away. So it was a win-win, dude. I mean, in my opinion, that is exactly the way Tucker and Putin wanted it to go.
I don't know why, but I have a feeling that this is the end of Tucker's career.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I think cockroaches live forever, and so I think he's going to scurry out of a few more refrigerator bottoms before the end of it.
Maybe he will, but he wouldn't have the height that he had just before going for the interview.
Could
Because
be,
because the hype that he created, everybody was expecting something. And if you realize, a lot of people raise this question that, you know, like, this interview, the way he is going to conduct the interview is going to be defining interview for him and his career. So if he could actually even contain his body language over there, I think that would have really boosted his career. But the way he presented himself, I think, is going to take him down.
Faizan, I'm going to make a statement.
Sure.
Here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say this. You, I believe, are smarter. As a foreigner, I'm so dumb. You I believe, are smarter than the average American that watches Tucker. Okay? And I mean that because I think you, especially living outside the U.S., you are seeing things from a little bit more big picture than people in the U.S. People in the U.S., again, they're choosing sides. So I think that yes, you're right. If his base was any smarter, if Tucker Carlson's audience was any smarter, you're right. His career would be over. But they're not. So it won't. I'm telling you, telling you that the people that like Tucker, and I know this because I have a lot of friends that are right wing, a lot. I live in a right wing area, very conservative, very Republican, and I'm not against it. Hey, whatever. I'm against choosing sides, period. But I don't have anything against people that choose sides. Sometimes. But they all were impressed by that interview. All my conservative friends were like, "Wow, did you see that interview with Tucker?" And I was like, "Yeah." You know, and so again, I think I don't think anybody I don't think anybody that is a fan of Tucker expected anything more. I really don't. I really don't. I think everybody else did. I think everybody else wanted more. They needed more. We needed answers. We needed hard questions. But I think people that like Tucker are going to continue to like Tucker and give him credit for just going over there and speaking with him, and that the content of the discussion is going to be second to that. I think based on
Well,
the people that I'm talking to.
yeah.
You know,
Well, he
but-
has a seat for an MSNBC then.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure, man. He needs to throw the bow tie back on. He needs to throw the bow tie on, go old school, get back into MSNBC, and then start rebuilding those bridges. I agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's well, I personally think that we are on the cusp of seeing the death of mainstream media.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, it is so, even amongst people that watch mainstream media, people still say that it is not what independent journalists are doing. You can get so much more information from a conversation, a long form 2-3 hour conversation of political people talking to each other than you will ever get in a weeks of programming from those mainstream media shows. At 4 and 5 minute segments talking about stories, you can't accomplish anything. You can't get any context. You can't get any nuance. You're never going to be able to accomplish complex discussions in a 4 or 5 minute segment. You know, so these long form media content creators, podcasters, people just putting out political analysis online, they're getting far more. They're giving far more information than anyone's getting from mainstream, and the numbers are showing. The numbers are absolutely showing it. You look at the ratings of these mainstream media shows like CNN and Fox News and MSA. It's plummeting. People in general have lost faith in the mainstream media because there's so much evidence of them just running a script, of just everybody saying the same thing. I'm sure you've seen those, what's called super cuts,
Yeah.
where they put together, oh, it's a danger to our democracy, and oh, we're committed to truth, and it's all the same, all these news stations saying the same thing, and so that's people see that, and they see it, the evidence that mainstream media is bought and sold, bought and paid for, and by pharmaceutical and government and who knows who else, and yet these content creators are simply looking at the media landscape and then giving true analysis, and that's so much more valuable. More valuable. So I think we're on the cusp of seeing people like Tucker Carlson. That I think he's seeing the landscape is why he got out, but he doesn't know what to do without a network. He doesn't know what to do. He's a network guy.
Yeah.
And so you're gonna see all these people shrivel up on the vine, because the source is gonna die. It's gonna die. So
That's true. That's true. Thank you so much, Ben. Before we end, if there is one advice that you can give to the audience on how they can actually improve the awareness around them.
Yeah. I mean, the main thing is to discuss, not preach. If you see an article, because I have a lot of friends that preach and it sucks. I hate it. And I'm preachy. But I do it on my show. And it's all about UFOs and aliens and shit like that. But I do have friends that they regurgitate what they're seeing from these talking heads in whatever realm that they're seeing. So form your own opinions. For God's sake, form your own opinions. Take what people are saying, read it. I mean, look, I do this all the time, and maybe it'll help some people. But are you familiar with ChatGPT?
Yes. Who is
So,
it?
yeah, who isn't? I know. So I have some friends that are like, it's the devil. What I do is when I find concepts that are a little over my head, right? And I'm a dumb guy, so that's a lot. But when I find concepts or topics that I'm hearing a lot about, but I don't have a big understanding of, I put it into ChatGPT and I say, explain this to me like I'm an 11-year-old. And you know what it does? It explains it to me like I'm a kid. And it helps me to at least understand the overall topic. And then from there, I can start to understand everybody's individual takes. And then from there, I can start to form my own opinion based on what I understand of the topic and then what I'm also hearing. What a lot of people do is they take someone else's understanding of a topic and they think, well, that I like that, so it must be accurate. Well, maybe it's not. Maybe they don't have a solid understanding of the topic. Don't always assume that the source is as educated as you want them to be, so be careful. But anyways, just whatever you can, understand the topic. Politics, I'll say right now, I said right off the bat, I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be. And I probably proved it. I just say you got to form your own opinions. And in order to do that, you have to look at the topic, not just from one side or the other, but from an overall view. And that's the only way to do it. So my advice would be just to read and and use ChatGPT and don't get emotional, man. I mean, don't get emotional. If you feel overwhelmed, if you're on social media and you're on YouTube and you're watching all the shit of the world coming to an end, which it certainly looks like that online, go take hopefully, I'm praying that you live in an area that is as beautiful as mine. Because all I got to do is step out my front door and it's peaceful, birds are chirping, sun is shining, and I remind myself that while the rest of the world might be burning, mine isn't. And that I don't need to light my world on fire to join the rest of the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can just be in my own world and absorb this stuff, but don't be angry all the time. Don't be emotional. Don't let it, you said, how can people raise awareness? Don't be angry. The best way to change people's minds is to not be angry. Just talk from a perspective of patience and understanding. They're hearing something that they believe. You're hearing something you believe. That is a level of respect that you should start from, and just take it from there and discuss. But don't preach. Don't be an asshole. Be a nice guy, be a nice lady, and be a nice foreigner. I'm so sorry I did that. Anyways, but I'm so dumb. Anyways, the average American, dude, the average American. I represented so well. I'm so glad that I could represent the average American in such a top-notch fashion. Thank you,
What is the
Faizan.
capital of China?
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much, Ben. It was really nice having a conversation with you.
Yeah,
Until
always.
next time, man. Until next time.
All
Cheers,
right, man.
man.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah, you as well.